Hi everyone, Ariel Labs here with a blog to watch. Today I'm going to review the Paulin Modul E Automatic. The Model is a model collection from Paulin. E is a designator of this particular dial, and automatic because it's an automatic movement. And I think what's important to say is that the name Modul comes from modular, and modular is what this case is all about. And what does that mean, modular? Well, it's quite interesting. This case is designed to accept different movements. But what people don't necessarily think about is that different movements have different sizes. So traditionally speaking, you would have to engineer the case quite specifically for the movement. You could make small adjustments with what they call the movement ring, which goes around there. But for the most part, you were limited because the case had to be engineered for movements of certain sizes. And Paulin said, you know, we don't want to be limited by that. We want to have one case, which is modular, so they came up with a module, that can accept different movements. And this watch can be purchased with no less than 3 different movements. There's this automatic movement. This is the Le Jeu Perret G101. There is a manually wound ETA, I think it's the 7001 or the Peugeot, which is a manually wound mechanical, or an ETA quartz movement. And all of that fits in here. Now, how do they do that? Well, if you look on the case, there's a couple of interesting features. You'll see these screws on the side, and then you look at the crown, and the crown has a channel around it. So these screws on the side can adjust in and out to create a different capacity for the movement. And then because movements have the crown in a different position, this channel allows technically for the crown to be up or down on the case so they could accommodate different movements. And that's not something that no one's ever thought about before, but I've never quite seen it in a watch, a production model watch, and I think that it's really cool that Paulin did that. And this is a Scottish brand that really prides themselves on design. And while I spoke a lot about the case, really what they're most into is typography. So everything from the brand logo to the hour markers on this and the other models is very specifically done. I believe that there's a custom typeface that has been made for the watches. The dials, I think, are printed in the UK. They're very open with where everything is made, from the movements to the strap to the box. The box is this. I actually wanted to show you it because I thought it was nice. It's made out of cork, so it's sustainable and it floats. And then it has this brass pin which holds it together, but they made it also be the eye of Paulin. So again, very efficient, very nicely done, very tactile. The suede strap. I mean, this is a brand from detail-oriented design professionals. And I say that a lot over and over again in the review, where I talk a little bit more about some of the design decisions they made. But these are people that were going for a very specific experience, and you gotta love them for that. One of the choices they made, which is a bit controversial, in my opinion, is to use a Hesalite crystal. Hesalite is an acrylic crystal, and most people today prefer sapphire crystal because it's going to be harder and more scratch resistant. But there's one difference between sapphire crystals and Hesalite crystals, and that is the viewing experience. When you look through Hesalite, it is a little warm. The colors change a little bit. It's just as clear, but again, it looks a little bit different. And the way I liken it is sort of how someone might prefer the sound from a vinyl record versus a compact disc. Most people want the compact disc, but there's those people that like something about for them it's an analog experience, it's sort of a grittiness to it. Again, I wouldn't call this gritty, but it's sort of an analogy to help you understand why somebody would choose a material like Hesalite versus sapphire crystal. Hesalite will scratch, but the good news is it's not particularly expensive to replace. And again, this is for those people that just want that experience. It's a combination of sort of a vintage mentality, but with a very brand new type of construction design. And I thought that was really nice. I appreciated the level of detail. I think the people at Paulin are looking for those people that appreciate those type of details. Another little detail, again, tiny, tiny little things, is on the buckle. And you can see the pin of the buckle is a darker color than the rest of the buckle. And it just sort of means the strap kind of blends in a little bit more. You don't see that interruption there. Again, tiny thing. But if you're a design professional and small little things bother you, then you make design decisions like this. And as someone that appreciates the design process, as well as designers who choose to make watches, I applaud stuff like this. So again, this is the Paulin Modul E Automatic. The Model E case is 39 millimeters wide in steel, and I really like the polished chamfered edges. The price of the watch is $997, which is not too much, and it adjusts a little bit with the different movements available. It's going to be less expensive in quartz. And you can see the full review of the Paulin Model E Automatic on a blog to watch. Thanks.